Hi, it's Jo and Steve from Freshagenda. And Steve, this week we're going to run through 5 bits of news to highlight what's going on in global dairy markets at the moment.
Firstly, the balance. So, we have updated our monthly outlook, put that out last night to subscribers to Global Dairy Directions. And look, just putting things into context, that global picture. As you can see there, that we are in the net demand situation in the market. So demand is certainly moving faster than supply right now. Supply is virtually creaked to a halt, and will be marginally ahead in the first quarter of the year, adding up the big players. But demand is surging. Some of that is seasonal, but we smoothed out this in this chart. When you overlay values on top of that, we've had a kick up in prices in the last couple of months, which is fairly important. So some of that. Those low prices have fixed the low prices.
That's right.
And we're back in good territory. And that ought to continue, though at a commodity level it will vary.
Yeah.
But we're in a good position for at least half a year.
Sure.
Let's go to New Zealand, where
some big export news. Yeah, was actually a record January for New Zealand exports. Over 170,000 tonnes of whole milk powder shipped in January, and not a lot of it actually to China. So
after the previous month being a big month for the Chinese peak buying season, and look, putting it into context, some interesting numbers that in the season to date, we've seen China take most of that growth. Pretty much all of that growth. Right. In the month itself, there's a very strong surge. But when you look at the full season, only 35,000 additional tonnes of whole milk powder has been sold. That China's increased its demand, but the rest of the world has slipped, and some of that's gone to those South Americans who've nipped in and stolen shares in North Africa and other regions.
With very competitive prices. So we've got a bit of a New Zealand whole milk powder balance sheet there, and that's projecting forward what we think they'll produce for the season and what's so far been shipped in the trade stats. And
this last month has really kicked that up.
Sure.
So they are likely to not grow their whole milk, even though there's been impressive growth in production so far. That's tipped to slow down a bit. But the market's going to take up the additional volumes.
They'll clear it,
which will be good news. And speaking of China, we're going up, and this is something, a newish feature in our dairy trade simulator, just illustrating where we are with China in the scheme of things. So this looks at the total shipments to China. It doesn't include that latest month because we didn't have the full trade data yesterday when we produced that.
From the other countries, yeah.
That's right. But it shows the landed cost in China, so you convert those shipped prices and where the spot and futures are into one.
Yeah.
It shows that we're certainly not reaching any sensitive levels in terms of pricing.
No, that's right. It's still very affordable.
Yeah. So the little bubble we saw earlier, there was about a 20% increase in costs into China during 2018, and we saw that that certainly affected in the mid-year buying. That's receded now. We're not going to get to that in the futures profile. So product is still cheap into China. It's a case of how much capacity there is. We certainly expect it'll slow down quite a bit. I mean, putting into context, China has only bought 4% more product this season, even though the numbers...
It's not a huge increase, is it?
Yeah. Even though the numbers look very big, it's only 4% over the last year.
Sure.
Up to Europe. So overnight again, some numbers came in from France. Well, France and Germany came in this week. These are weekly numbers. They don't necessarily transpire into what the Eurostat produce. I mean, who knows where they get that from. But Germany's moved above the comparative for the first time in a while. France is still struggling, but it is steadily improving. We've got to look at those against comparatives. So there was some pretty ordinary weather last year. So just how that plays out. So we're not seeing real growth there in the two big producers. Look, they're nearly 40% of production. You can see from that pie chart at the bottom.
Yeah, which is why we always talk about them, and then the UK.
Yeah. And then looking at the top, how each of them have contributed and where we expect the first quarter to be. So it is very subdued in Europe for a while yet. And I heard someone talk yesterday about unimpressive growth. So we hope that stays like that because it'll keep the market tight.
Absolutely.
So just to reinforce that, when that nice little thing drops in, look how we've actually dipped to a pretty low point. Chart of the week, Joe. What have you picked for us?
Chart of the week. Well, a topical chart this week is grass growth in New Zealand, and we've obviously had that fairly dry period for most of this month. Then a bit of rainfall on the tail end of Cyclone Omar. And it looks like it's kicked up, but I suppose the question is, will it continue with that follow-up rain? It's certainly settled the dust in a lot of regions, but in the South Island, we're seeing that there's a lot of capacity there, a lot of conserved feed.
Yeah, that's where the arrow points. So that late during December in January, it was still very strong. This is a rolling PGI, so it does take account of short-term fluctuations. So looks like there's plenty of silage there, and there's also irrigation. So have they turned a corner? Will we see that kick up in autumn? That's the big question now. And
Fonterra's just revised their forecast down for production this season.
Yep.
So that's down.
They're down to 2% growth.
Yep, which implies about 3.5.
3.5
for the country.
Yeah. So watch this space. Not a lot of rain on the radar, so it could be that we stay tight and we end up lower than average for the rest of the year. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week, and we hope you have a good week.
You won't believe what I could have told you.